Should you get the new iPhone 13? Well, here's 5 reasons not to upgrade to the new version. You already have a modern iPhone, and heaven forbid if you're like me and you have last year's flagship model, there's not a lot of incentive there. There are improvements, yes, but they are incremental over last year's model. The cameras are better, but are they good enough to warrant an upgrade from last year's model? If it's specifically the camera you're upgrading for, then I should point out that the top of the range iPhone with Apple Care in Australia is $3,000. Now I can get a DSLR with lenses that'll smoke the iPhone for that. Now every new year, each new iPhone comes out, great new colours. This year's no different. You can admire them for a little bit and then you'll whack it inside a case where you'll never see it again. Now for most of us, new colours are not a reason to buy a new iPhone. Most of the hardware has not received an upgrade. There's a new A15 chip in it, sure, which will be incrementally faster than last year's Model 12, but 5G remains the same, Wi-Fi 6 is the same, Bluetooth's the same, the screen size is the same, it still has a lingering lightning connector, MagSafe's no different, and wireless charging isn't any quicker. In fact, it's now actually slower to fully charge because of the new larger battery. LiDAR hasn't changed. It's got the same water resistance, it's made from the same materials, and the same Face ID. The notch hasn't even gone, it's just squished a little bit. The phone looks almost identical to the last model. iOS 15 runs on the old model anyway, and it runs great. And if I were to put an iPhone 12 in a case side by side next to a 13, run various applications, most people wouldn't even be able to tell the difference in performance between the two phones. The dimensions on the 13, however, have increased slightly, with the depth about 2.5mm deeper, so that likely means you'll want a new case. And the weight has increased too. But in fairness, it's only 12 grams, so hardly noticeable. The price. The top of the range iPhone 13 Pro Max with 1TB and Apple Care in Australia is over $3,000 for a phone. For comparison, this here, that's the new MacBook M1 with 1TB of space, it's $600 cheaper. And here's the 11-inch cellular iPad Pro with 1TB of space, and it's $500 cheaper than the iPhone 13. So it's one freaking expensive phone. Now here's 5 reasons you absolutely should upgrade to the iPhone 13. You like the new colours. Yeah, if they appeal to you that much, then go ahead. But if you want to show off your shiny new iPhone's colour, then get Apple Care. Just get it. The cameras have been improved. The telephoto lens now has a 77mm focal length, allowing you to take great portrait photos, and a 3x optical zoom to get you just that little bit closer to things. It now has a macro mode, allowing you to get closer to small objects, for example, shooting pictures of insects or flowers up to 2 centimeters away. And the wide lens is now more than 2.2 times better in low light, and the ultra-wide lens captures up to 92% more light, all of which should result in better photos at night. And these night modes are now available in every camera. And it has support for a full recording and editing in Apple ProRes right on the camera, and a new cinematic video mode that allows you to edit the depth of the focus even after it's been recorded. This feature for now only works in 1080p, but it's a pretty cool feature and will potentially allow you to produce better videos, knowing that you can focus on different things later on. Now, it's not a new technology as such. Other cameras have had this feature, but it's the first time we've seen it in an iPhone. Oh, and it works in the wide, telephoto, and true depth cameras. Finally, iPhone 13 has Smart HDR4 to use machine learning automatically to adjust photos for multiple people in a scene, making skin tones look even better than before. The iPhone 13 has a different notch. Apple says it's smaller, and it is, horizontally, but vertically it's a fraction bigger. So is that a good thing? Well, you can decide if it's a positive thing, a negative thing, or it makes no difference to your life either way. Now, there's also an invention called an Android, which doesn't have a notch. Amazing. The battery life in the iPhone 13 has been improved up to 2.5 hours better than the previous model, and every one of us would like a bit of extra battery. Now finally, the screen is now a 120Hz ProMotion display that's capable of refreshing as low as 10 frames a second all the way up to 120 frames per second. Now that means the screen should look a tad smoother when you're scrolling through things or you're playing games, and it should save power when things on the screen are sitting still. Oh, and that screen, by the way, it's a tad brighter than the previous model, 1000 nits up from 800 in the previous Pro Max phones. So that's 5 reasons that you should consider in an upgrade. I'll even throw in a couple more. It has support for dual eSIMs. That's something that never made it into the announced features. It's got a faster A15 chip with 5 GPU cores up from the 4, and the maximum storage option is now doubled from 512 gig to 1 terabyte if you want to sell a kidney for it. Generally with phones, most people care about 4 things: speed, battery life, screen quality, and the cameras. And the iPhone 13 is obviously better in all of those areas. So that begs the question, are you going to upgrade?